Hello everyone and welcome back to JavaScript lessons on Codecademy. So today we're going to be looking mainly at control flow, which is actually really useful in programming. If you don't have control flow, then your program probably won't do what you would want it to do, or it would do it very inefficiently. So let's see what this topic or these few lessons have in store for us. You may have noticed that the interpreter doesn't print out every single thing it does. So if we want to know what it's thinking, we sometimes have to ask it to speak to us. So console.log will take whatever is inside the parentheses and log it to the console below your code. That's why it's called console log. So this is commonly called printing out. Please print the following two console log statements at the same time. Type one on line 1 and the other on line 2. Then press save and submit code. So we are given the exact things that we can just copy and paste. So I guess that if you do this, or actually if you remove that, it's only going to give you 10. But if you have console.log, it's going to print 10 or put 10 to the console, as well as tell you what it does, I'm guessing. Or maybe not. Okay. What would happen if we literally just had that? Wouldn't it be just the same? Let's actually test it out if we reload the page. And okay, let's save and submit. Oh, so it doesn't actually print it out. It just puts it there. It just does it, but doesn't give any result from it. Okay. So it does work a bit like Python, maybe? That's interesting, because that's not how I was expecting it to work, because that's not how it was working at the start. But I guess that the start was just a bit different to now. Okay, so now we know how we can print some simple things to the console. So let's move on. Comparisons. So far we've learned about three data types: strings, numbers, and booleans. Now let's learn more about comparison operators. So a list of comparison operators is greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, and not equal to. So sometimes you might see equal to and not equal to put in a separate category, but they work really similarly to greater than and less than, and the other two. In many languages, it's usually just two equal signs instead of three, and an exclamation mark and an equal sign instead of an exclamation mark and two equal signs, but I guess it's different in JavaScript. So let's see what we need to do. Try to use each of the operators above. Choose the correct comparison operator to make each of the four statements print out true. So we have print out the length of which one of those two is bigger or greater. So to make that true, that one is the length of this is definitely less than 122. The length of that is definitely greater than 8 from what I can see, and 8 times 2 is definitely equal to 16 from what I have learned at school from maths. So good, I actually was correct. That's good to know. So I don't know where that line comes from. I'm guessing it comes from here. Oh yes, so it does come from there. So 15 is greater than 4 is true. You have the length of that is less than 122 is true. Then you also have the length of that string is greater than 8, which is also true, and 8 times 2 is equal to 16, which is true. If we put any other sign there, then that would be false, or any one of those, except for those two actually would also give us true, because if it's lesser than or greater than, it's not going to be true, but because it's equal to, it's going to be true. So let's move on. Decisions. So here we go. This is the main part of programming. Nice work on comparisons. Now let's see how we can use comparisons to ask yes or no questions. Say we want to write a program that asks whether your name is longer than 7 letters. If the answer is yes, we can respond with "you have a long name." If we can do this with an if statement. So you have if something is something, then do something, basically. in this case, this is if the string my name, which in this case is 6 letters or 6 characters long, is greater than or equal to 7, then it's going to print you have a long name. But in this case it's not, so therefore this whole section of code, or this section of this line of code, is going to be skipped. So an if statement is made up of the if keyword, a condition like we've seen before, and a pair of curly braces. If the answer to the condition is yes, the code inside the curly braces will run. I like calling them brackets, by the way, so don't get confused. Check out the if statement in the editor. On line 1, add a condition inside the parentheses. Okay, let's see what task 2 is. If the answer to the condition is yes, the code inside your curly braces will run. So on line 2, use console.log to print out a string. So, okay, let's print out this was true / correct. And then our statement can be if, so let's see, if something, so we have if my name, well actually we don't know how to assign variables yet, so let's see, let's make a string which is going to be programming is great, and we can compare it to some kind of a number. So if the length of that actually is greater than, I don't know, 15, then run that. So in this case the length of this string was greater than 15, so I guess we know how many characters it takes, or we know that it takes more than 15 characters to write this out. So let's move on. Computers are smart. Well, not really. Let's see. Great, we used an if statement to do something if the answer to the condition was yes or true, as we say in JavaScript. In addition to doing something when the condition is true, we can do something else if the condition is false. For example, if your name is shorter than 7 letters, we can respond with you have a short name. We can do this using an if-else statement. Just like before, if the condition is true, then the only code inside the first pair of curly braces will run. Otherwise, the condition is false, so only the code inside the second pair of curly braces after the else keyword will run. In the example above, so let's look at the example, we have an if statement. If the length of that string is greater than or equal to 7, it prints out you have a long name. But in this case, that's false, so this line gets ignored, or this line gets ignored. So it moves on to the else, and what gets printed out is you have a short name, because this string is shorter than 7 characters. So in the example above, the condition my name length greater than or equal to 7 evaluates to false, since my name only has 6 letters or characters. Since the condition is false, only the code inside the curly braces after the else keyword runs and prints out you have a short name. So what we need to do is, in line 1, fill in a condition that will evaluate to false. So let's do that. 1 is greater than whatever number that is, which is definitely true. Fill in some code that run in the else portion. This will run if the condition is false. Use console.log for this part. So we can just remove the comment, but there is really no point in doing that. So let's use console.log and have a semicolon at the end, which I sometimes forget, and it gives me an error. So let's print out your code in the else statement was run, for example, full stop. So because 1 was not greater than, is that 1 million? Oh, actually it is 1 million. Because 1 is not greater than 1 million, we go into the else, and this is run. So let's move on. More practice with conditionals. Now let's practice using if-else statements. Do as much as you can by yourself, but if you need a reminder, click the stuck get a hint button below, which is just there. So let's see what we need to do. Write an if-else statement, just like we did in the last exercise. Here's what the outline of the code looked like. So you have if condition, so if it's true, do whatever is inside these curly brackets. Otherwise, if that's false, do whatever is inside these curly brackets on those few lines that would be there. So okay, we know the format. So let's, I guess, apply it. We have brackets. Oops, it's not, there is no colon. I actually don't like putting space between those, but I do like how they've done the, oh no, I don't like putting spaces between the if and the parentheses. I like putting a space between there, and then I like leaving this on the same line as the if, but finishing on a different line, of course. And then we'll put something else there, then we can put an else and that. So in the else, you actually don't have parentheses there because it only runs if it's false, so you can't really tell it. What you would be achieving if you somehow achieve to do that would be an else if, which I think we will learn later on. But for now, just don't put parentheses after the else, because it will just give you a syntax error and it won't work. So let's see what we need to do. If your condition is true, use, so okay. So we need to actually put a condition, I guess. If 6 is less than 9,000, we can do, what was the print thing? Console.log. Yes, there we go. And hello 1, or yeah, hello world. And then else we can do console.log hello JavaScript else statement. I don't know. And okay, oh, the condition, we need to print something specific, so we need to print the condition is false. Let's copy and paste that then. Make sure your condition value is to false so that your program prints out the condition is false, so it needs to be false. So let's do that greater than then. And because that is false, 6 is definitely not greater than 9,000, we get the condition is false printed out to the console. So let's move on. Computers aren't that smart. That's more like it. Now computers are very literal. Syntax needs to be in exactly the right place for the computer to understand the code. As you get started with programming, we will teach you many syntax rules. That's quite good, actually. This is sort of like the grammar of programming languages. Grammar first, then programming poetry. There are many mistakes in this code. Find them and fix them all. Ooh, okay. You're doing what's called debugging, a term popularized by Grace Hopper, whoever that is, when she literally removed a moth from her computer. That's interesting, I might have to look that up. So if 10 equals 10, I think that's supposed to be triple equal sign, because otherwise you would be assigning 10 to 10, which doesn't make any sense. So if 10 equals 10, which is always true, there shouldn't be a semicolon there. Do something. So that looks quite good to me. Else, you have do that. You got the false. Is that correct? Oh, it actually was just those 2 or 3 errors that we found out. Why you wouldn't have an equal sign there is because that isn't comparing, that is assigning, and you can't assign 10 to 10. And you might get an error, but you also might not get an error. But if you don't get an error, this is actually never going to be executed, or the else might be executed. I'm not actually sure. So just to be on the safe side, or actually for your program to work, you have to put a triple equal sign. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please click the subscribe and like button. If you didn't like it, please click the dislike button and tell me what you didn't like about it in the comments down below. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments down below as well. So until next time, thank you so much for watching and goodbye.